Jai Radha Madhava Kuja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Paramahamsa, Parivajikacharya, Ashtodra Shuddha Sri Srimad Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivajikacharya, Ashtodra Shuddha Sri Srimad Divine Grace, Shuddha Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Gantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the Srimad Devotees, all glories to the Srimad Devotees, all glories to the Srimad Devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this morning we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4. Canto 4, titled Creation of the Fourth Order, Chapter 23. Prithu Maharaj goes back home, back to Godhead. Text 17. Okay, text 17. And there's 39 texts in this chapter. And then we're going to be on 24, which is chanting the song sung by Lord Shiva. Okay. Indriyeshu manasthani tanmatreshu yatodbhavam Bhuttadinyanmun utskrisya Mahat Yatmani Sandade Indriyeshu manasthani Tanmatreshu yatodbhavam Bhuttadina mun utkrishya Mahatyatmani sandade Indriyeshu manasthani Tanmatreshu yatodbhavam Bhuttadinyanmun utkrishya Mahatyatmani sandade. Okay. Indriyeshu, in the sense organs. Manaha, the mind. Tani, the sense organs. Tatmatreshu, in the objects of the senses. Yata udbhavam, wherefrom they generated. Bhuta adina, by the 5 elements. Muni, all those sense objects. Utkrishya, taking out. Mahati, in the Mahat Tattva. Atmani, unto the ego. Sandade, amalgamated. Translation. He amalgamated the mind with the senses and the senses with the sense objects, according to their respective positions. And he also amalgamated the material ego with the total material energy, Mahatattva. Purport. In respect to the ego, the total material energy is sundered in 2 parts. One agitated by the mode of ignorance, and the other agitated by the modes of passion and goodness. Due to agitation by the mode of ignorance, the 5 gross elements are created. Due to agitation by the mode of passion, the mind is created. And due to agitation by the mode of goodness, false egoism or identification with matter is created. The mind is protected by a particular type of demigod. Sometimes the mind, Manaha, is also understood to have a controlling deity or demigod. In this way, the total mind, namely the material mind controlled by material demigods, was amalgamated with the senses. The senses, in turn, were amalgamated with the sense objects. The sense objects are forms, tastes, smells, sounds, etc. Sound is the ultimate source of the sense objects. The mind was attracted by the senses, and the senses by the sense objects, and all of them were ultimately amalgamated in the sky. The creation is so arranged that cause and effect follow one after the other. The merging process involves amalgamating the effect with the original cause. Since the ultimate cause in the material world is Mahat Tattva, everything was gradually wound up and amalgamated with Mahat Tattva. This may be compared to Shunyavad, or voidism, but this is the process for cleansing the real spiritual mind, or consciousness. I hope everybody got that. Your Krishna consciousness depends on understanding this paragraph we just read. So I hope everyone fully grasps that and understands it and knows exactly how that all works, or else you're in big trouble. It's a little tricky. When the mind is okay, we're continuing the purport. When the mind is completely washed of all material contamination, the pure consciousness acts. The sound vibration from the spiritual sky can automatically cleanse all material contaminations, as confirmed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaito Darpana Marjanam. We need only take the advice of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and chant the Hare Krishna mantra to cleanse the mind of all material contamination, and this may be considered the summary of this difficult verse. As soon as the whole material contamination is washed away by this process of chanting, all desires and reactions to material activities become immediately vanquished. In real life, peaceful existence begins. In this age of Kali, it is very difficult to adopt the yogic process mentioned in this verse. Unless one is very expert in such yoga, the best course is to adopt the ways and means of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. Thus one can gloriously become freed from all material contamination by the simple process of chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Just as life in this material world has its beginning in material sound, similarly, a spiritual life has its beginning in this spiritual sound vibration. Om Ganati Badandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshul Maditamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Kam Karitavachalam Pangam Langai Tegirim Yakripatam Hambande Shri Gurundi Tarinam Bancha Kapadir Bishta Kibasan Bevacha Paditanam Pavani Vil Vaishnavi Bilmanamaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Bhavanitananda Shri Radigadata Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, read the translation again. He amalgamated the mind with the senses, and the senses with the sense objects, according to their respective positions, and he also amalgamated the material ego with the total material energy, Mahatattva. So a little side note. There'll be a few days where there'll be classes open to give. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, for at least this week coming up. No, Bhagavatam classes. Yeah. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday is covered by myself, Mukunda Charna, myself and Bajranayan Swami, but then there's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday that's open. So if there's anybody around who wants to give those classes, then, or help give some of those classes. Bhagavad Gita classes, Dravida Prabhu said he most likely will do them. So, yeah. Yeah, so that's there. So yeah, as I was saying earlier, that I was kind of joking earlier that I hope everybody understood this first paragraph because your Krishna consciousness depends on it, which actually doesn't, but. The second part of the purport, yeah, that our Krishna consciousness does depend on actually, if we understand it and apply what Srila Prabhupada's talking about in the second part of the purport. As Prabhupada says, it's the second part of the purport. He says, and this may be considered the summary of this difficult verse. We need only take the advice of Lord Chaitanya and chant Hare Krishna to cleanse the mind of all material contamination. And this may be considered the summary of this difficult verse. So, yeah, as we've been hearing Prithu Maharaj is engaging in quite a difficult to do and difficult to understand process of going back to Godhead, getting free from all these things, unnecessary things, material mind, body, ego, and all that. And the process in which we are being advised to engage in is different. And it's quite different. And you could say in many ways, it's much more simpler. And just because something's simple doesn't mean it's... like one time my spiritual master, Prabhupada, he referred to him as simple. Like he said, like our Giraj is simple. And my spiritual master was feeling a little uneasy about that, or a little... Because he was thinking, simple kind of means like a simple villager or something, not very cultured, not very sophisticated. And sometimes people think, people who are simple, they're not intelligent. Sometimes that's there too. So when we say that the process, but then speaking to Prabhupada, he asked Prabhupada about it, because Nanda Maharaj, or my Guru Maharaj, heard that Nanda Maharaj is also, one of his qualities is to be simple, or he's considered simple. But he's a pure devotee. And by no means is Nanda Maharaj uncultured or unsophisticated or not intelligent. He's the most intelligent, most cultured, most sophisticated. I mean, he's Krishna's father. So he was happy to hear Nanda Maharaj. Prabhupada said that Nanda Maharaj was simple. So when we say the process of devotional service is simple, it's true. But again, that doesn't mean it's for less intelligent people or uncultured people or unsophisticated people, but it's for the most sophisticated, most cultured, most intelligent people. As the Bhagavatam says in the 11th canto, the 9 Yugendras have a verse about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Krishna Varnam Tisha Krishnam Sangam Parshadam Parshadam Yagya Sankirtana Prayer Yajantihi Sumeda Saha. So it's saying that those who are intelligent within this Kali Yuga, they worship Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They worship Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna come again. Akrishna, it says. Akrishna, which means not blackish, golden. Hidden incarnation for most people. They worship by how? Yagya Sankirtana Prayer. Yajanti hi Sumeda Saha. Sumeda Saha means very intelligent, most intelligent. Sumeda Saha. By Yagya Sankirtana, by the sacrifice of Sankirtan, chanting and dancing, ecstatic chanting and dancing, and also chanting the holy name on one's beads as well. So, of course, sometimes you say, philosophy, it's for the classes, and Harinam is for the masses. But a real philosopher understands the conclusion of the philosophy, which is bhakti, right? Bhakti, devotion, bhakti Vedanta, as Prabhupada's names, right? Vedanta and Vedanta knowledge, bhakti. The end of all knowledge is bhakti. And as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught, that goes on nowadays, especially bhakti goes on by Sankirtan, hearing and chanting. So it's not that let all the neophyte bhaktas chant and dance and look foolish, right? Jump around and like one time, Radha Damodar party. Tamal Krishna Goswami and Vishnujan Swami and all the bunch of brahmacharis. They made so many devotees. It's like absolutely unbelievable. It's one of the biggest preaching, spreading of Krishna consciousness cases in history of ISKCON. But so many devotees they made. And of course, they were taking devotees from temples too. Devotees were upset about that, the temple presidents. Tamal Krishna Goswami said he employed Keshav Bharati Prabhu to do that. Keshav Bharati Swami now. But Keshav Bharati Prabhu, they would go to the temple, and Maharaj would say, okay, Keshav Bharati, you go tell the devotees, all the best devotees of the temple, preach to them, yeah, come with us, a bunch of, just come with us, hop on the bus, and, we'll be traveling all over America, and, distributing Prabhupada's books. Prabhupada wanted it. We'll be chanting the holy names. You won't be at the temple anymore. Just hit the road, have fun. Let your shika fly in the air, right? So Maharaj was saying that his hands were clean, But Keshav Bharati Prabhu, he was doing all the dirty work, getting all the devotees. So, yeah, it was one of the biggest, and it was just so amazing. And in one of those cases, they visited a temple, and the temple is probably more like a storefront or something. But you can imagine a huge Greyhound bus, arrives here. They came to SanDiego too, by the way, and they also went to SDSU. And Gunagrahi Swami and devotees, they were, Gunagrahi was householder. Bhajanarayan, they also went to Ann Arbor, where Bhajanarayan at the time Prabhu was. So, anyways, so they came here and they went to STSU. But anyway, they're going to different temples. They went to one storefront, and the devotees were all dancing and chanting in this, storefront. And you can imagine again, 50, 100 devotees coming here, a bunch of all brahmacharis. They came one day, having this wild kirtan. In one particular place, they were all spinning and jumping up and down. It said that one brahmachari was spinning so wildly he went out of control and he hit the wall and broke the drywall. Anyways, quite interesting. So, so yeah, the point going back is that it's not that chanting and dancing and all this. It's just for the neophytes. When you really become advanced, you'll just, right? You won't engage in kirtan, you won't engage in japa, you'll just do other things. But that's not the case. Because the most advanced personality, what are they doing in the spiritual world? Goloka, Premadan, Harinam, Sankirtan. It is descending from the spiritual world. It's descending from the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, we understand, Gaudiya Vaishnavas understand that there's two pastimes places. There's many pastime places, but there's two sections. There's actually a few more sections, but in which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates are all chanting and dancing, engaged in, as we know, Chaitanya Leela here, as we read in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. They're doing that in the spiritual world. And then there's a section where Radha, Krishna, and all the, Vrindavan pastimes are going on. So it's coming from the spiritual world, that activity. So it's not an activity for neophytes. It's activity actually that goes on in the spiritual world, the most advanced personalities. So we should always remember that. It's a very important thing actually. Because sometimes people say that it just looks like a sentimental, foolish, over-dramatic expressions of, right? Devotees say this sometimes. I'm not just talking about, definitely the karmis, materialist people, they don't understand. When you go down Harinam, a lot of them, they don't understand. But sometimes devotees also say this. That it's just too much. It's just... So, but we don't accept that. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that's what he was doing. He was chanting and dancing, and that's what he was doing. And that's who we're meant to follow. So this is what intelligent people do in this age. They engage in this process. Now, the neophytes may engage in it, sure. And to some, maybe they do look, a little too wild or, too out of control or whatever. I mean, we get all types of new bhaktas or new people off the streets or whatever. Yeah, maybe it does look like wild expression, but that doesn't mean that advanced devotees don't engage in it. Also, they also engage in it. Both. It's for everybody. That's the point. Kids, children, everybody. So that's the glory of the Sankirtan movement. Just like when my little nephew is here, Macy's son, Kingsley. I mean, he doesn't know much. I mean, he's 5 years old. And my mother gives him prasadam and, shows him the deities and talks to him about Krishna and things like that. But ultimately, how much can a 5-year-old understand? I mean, his brain's not, developed. But when he was here in the kirtan, he was having a good time. He was, jumping and chanting. And when devotees came in, they came in, they're offering because a big kirtan going on here, that Sunday feast. We used to have it, right? And then, everybody's moving and chanting, and then he was also engaged in the chanting, and he'd see people coming in late, 5:40, 5:45, 5:50, whatever, and they were offering dandavats to Prabhupada and to the deities. So in his mind, he didn't understand what was going on, so he thought he thought they were doing push-ups. So what he did in the kirtan, he started doing push-ups. I looked over and he was right here. He's doing push-ups. And then I asked my sister. I said, "Why was he doing push-ups in the kirtan?" And then she said, "Oh, well, he saw people coming in offering dandavats, so he's doing push-ups." And then he took the little shaker and he's going like this on his head, playing it. And anyways, he's having a good time. So yeah, you see, it's for everybody. So the sound vibration from the spiritual sky can automatically cleanse all material contaminations, provided we do it. I mean, Lochan Das Thakur says at the end of that song, he says, "Do not think that this chanting and dancing will not lead to the goal. It will. It will lead to the goal." And then some devotees add, provided we do it. If we do it, it will help us attain the goal. Maybe we should start, not now because of what's going on, but maybe in the future we should start, like you take like japa walks, like you start doing Harinam walks, simultaneously get a little exercise and also, Mridanga and kartals for an hour around. It's good. He said, we only need to take the advice of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is a summary of this verse. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that's his advice, chant Hare Krishna. I was hearing two devotees back in the pujari room, the kitchen, which is like the breeding ground of, good ideas and all different types of ideas. I don't know. I guess that's just where everybody happens to be and meet and, talk. But I was hearing two devotees talking, and I don't want to get into what they're exactly talking about, so I'm not taking sides or, criticizing either one of them or anything like that. But I heard one devotee tell the other devotee, the problem is why you don't make any advancement is because you don't follow any good advice. That was one. You don't follow any good advice, therefore you're not making any advancement. Another thing he said to him was that he said, what was the other one? No, not that. The other one he said was, all right, it's coming to my mind. You're not making advancement because you're not following any good advice. Oh, what is it? Oh, yeah. Anyways, I should just look because I have it written down right here. And he says, you just want to do what facilitates your laziness, right? Otherwise, you want to take the easy way. You want to do what facilitates your laziness. So I was thinking about that, and aside from getting into the details of what they're discussing, in and of itself, it's a good, you could say the points are nice. that you're not making advances, you're not taking advice. So the positive aspect is if we take advice, we will make advancement, provided we take the right advice, good advice. And that requires some humility, obviously, but that also requires having good association, because bad association is only going to produce bad advice. And that is the main problem in the material world. This sound vibration that we're talking about, different types of sound vibration, one is, you could say, evil or bad sound vibration, and two is good sound vibration, transcendental sound vibration. So the main problem in the material world is people have a bunch of bad association, and they're getting a bunch of bad advice, hurtful advice, which you could only, practically speaking, of course sometimes even in bad association you could get some good advice, but for the most part that good advice is kind of like drowned out by bad advice. They may give you a few little pearls of good advice, but all the rest of the bad advice just really kind of trumps it. That's the problem with bad association. Just like, for example, there was this one brahmachari here. I said this, but there's one brahmachari here, and he used to go to a local college here, university, and at the time he was not a devotee, and he had certain eating habits, which weren't sattvic, to say the least. Namely, he'd eat at different fast food joints. People call it joints still, I don't know, probably not, but like a 50s thing, fast food joints, but fast food place. And one of those, his favorite places, for whatever reason.
Now they have fast food joints.
Yeah, Mukundacharya says now they have fast food joints, because it's legalized, right? Drive-through delivery, delivered to your house, man. Nowadays we're talking about really facilitating laziness, because you get everything delivered nowadays, like completely, right? So he had a particular fast food place in which he liked, and it was, sorry to say, that In-N-Out place, which, they have the burgers or whatever and different things. Interesting enough is that on the cup, on the bottom of their cup, they have a soda, paper cup. They have a quote from the Bible. It's like John 3:6. It's true. John 3:16. You can look it up. John 3:16, which it's something like, "I am the way, the truth, the life. No one gets to the Father through me." Something like that, right on the bottom of their cup. So they're a Christian. They obviously have some Christian ideas and some Christian leaders. Obviously, you can't have atheistic leaders and put that on your cup. You have to have Christian leaders of the company. So they do that. Just in case somebody's bored and they look at the bottom of the cup. Oh, look at Jesus Ki Jai, whatever. But, what are they serving? I mean, Prabhupada criticized that over and over and over again. The Christians doing that. Or whoever, any religious person doing that. So this particular devotee, before he was a devotee, he would eat there regularly, and he would eat with another American friend of his and another Indian guy. Now, traditionally, Indians coming from India, their family coming from India, and or growing up here even in America, they teach their children to be vegetarians. Means especially not eating, cows, especially that. That's like. So this boy was a vegetarian. He was very strict vegetarian, and then due to the association of this person, these two persons he would go to In-N-Out with, he would always go there and he would get a grilled cheese sandwich. Yeah, I'll take grilled cheese, grilled cheese. And then over time, okay, well, they're all kind of smoking pot together, because Indian, okay, he's vegetarian, but he smokes pot too. And they're all stoned with his friends, and they're kind of, my point is, through their bad association, the guy changed his diet and started eating what they were eating from that association. And then when this devotee joined the ashram later, he told me the story, and he said, I felt so bad. Now knowing, I felt so bad doing that, which, it is bad. Anyways, hopefully the Indian boy changed. Went back to the light. But this association really rubs off on people. It really rubs off. I mean, even how one speaks, how one walks, how one talks, what one says, what one doesn't say. I mean, hang out with your family for a week, and they're all using foul language and everything, and you start, you may start catching yourself. What on earth am I saying? I mean, I'm saying foul. What's going on? Well, they're weak, association. Or like my nephew also. He Kingsley's and he does like this kind of pose and pictures, And I asked my sister, why is he doing that? Like, 'cause it's kind of random or something like random. And then he said, oh, well, your mom does that, mom does. So he just follows her, And so, yeah, I mean, it's very powerful. So if we take good advice, like this devotee saying you're not making advancement because you're not taking good advice, then we will make advancement. But we need good association. So the best association, obviously, is in Prabhupada's books, reading purports and all that. But then again, we can't just sit around and read all day. And even Brahmins just don't sit around and read all day. Even readers, big readers just don't sit around and read all day. I mean, maybe some people, but most people don't. They got to do so many other things. So a very small percentage of our life is reading, or what to speak of hearing classes. I mean, how many classes can you read? How many books can you read in a day? A few hours. So what do we do for the rest of that association? How are we supposed to get good association? Well, one is that good devotees, which means following the 4 regulative principles, chanting 16 rounds, ideally. Strict followers of Prabhupada, not too critical about, unnecessarily critical, positive, into doing devotional service, good association, and the purer the better. But then again, we can't spend all of our time just with other people, right? So a small percentage reading, hearing talks, small percentage with other people. Okay, then what? Well, we have to create good association within ourselves. Means our mind has to be saturated with the holy name of Krishna, and saturated with Krishna consciousness through hearing and chanting, and the pastimes, right? Name, nama, guna, qualities, rupa, form of Krishna, lila, the pastimes of Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, of Srila Prabhupada. And in this way, we'll have good association with ourselves, which is important. And then we'll be able to give good association to others. So yeah, this is the main process for this age, to chant Hare Krishna, age of Kali. Yogic process is very difficult, so therefore Sri Krishna Sankirtanam, which will make us, simple process will make us peaceful, and this is how spiritual life begins, through spiritual sound. This is what maintains our spiritual life. This is what ultimately we're successful, and we continue doing it. So, like it in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it says, advanced association is needed in the beginning, it's needed in the middle, and it's also needed when one becomes perfect. It's not that one ever gives up advanced association. They always need it. So, and if one engages in it, then param vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. It will be victorious. In other words, we will be victorious, because the chant of the holy name is victorious for those who engage in it. Okay, does anybody have any questions? Comments?
Short comment.
All right.
I was listening to a lecture by His Holiness Ranat Swami recently, and the lecture was on his first encounter with Srila Prabhupada. And this is back when, 1970s, when Prabhupada and devotees had organized that huge Bombay pandal. And so at this point, he didn't know anything of ISKCON. And he was a wandering sadhu. But he was mainly trained by Himalayan ascetics. And so he arrives at the pandal, and he actually meets Giriraj Maharaj.
Oh, he says that in the talk?
Right. That he was...
I was just thinking about that.
Giriraj was brahmachari at the time.
Yeah.
And Giriraj Maharaj was engaging him in service.
Yeah.
And what he would do, he would distribute BTGs to the guests.
Oh, okay.
But the thing is, they would never pay for them. They would always just take them and walk off.
Yes. Yeah.
So
when you hand them, they just walk off, right?
Right. So they were technically stealing the BTGs to people. And so Ranath Maharaj's duty, Giriraj Maharaj had engaged them in poking a hole at the end of the BTGs and then tying a string to it.
Yeah.
And then when people would try to take it,
it
would just...
They get stuck. They walk and they get stuck and have to come back. Yeah, I remember hearing that. That's funny.
So he was with the devotees for a couple of days before before Srila Prabhupada spoke on the pandal, and then the day of the event is tens of thousands of people, and he's way in the back, and he sees the devotees, and because you had mentioned, even for devotees, and then what to speak of others, they see us dancing and they're thinking like, why are they dancing? Like what's? And so Ranath Swami, he sees the devotees and he's thinking, why are they dancing? They're dressed as sadhus, and he said, I'm never, and he told himself, he's like, I'm never dancing. And he wasn't.
That's funny.
But he explains that he wasn't critical. He was just confused because he was, he was trained by Himalayan yogis.
Yeah, a lot of meditation.
So I just thought that was funny.
Yeah, that is funny. Yeah, a lot of meditation and silent meditation, and maybe some walking meditation, or something like. Standing in ice water or something. Shivering counts as dancing. We went up to that. What is it called? Deer Park Monastery. Were you there? Did you go? Well, maybe you should go sometime to check it out. Because, anyways, it's interesting. They have a nice setup. It's quite simple, but they have a kind of like, probably somewhat bigger than this, but a big room. It's more or less empty. We're not going to make any jokes, okay? Just hold off. It's more or less empty. And, they have little seats where they could meditate and all that. And there's a big statue of some form of Buddha in the front, I believe. Unless I'm just making it up because I'm a personalist. Oh. Oh, when I went, there was no big statue?
I don't think so. I thought we asked about the orchids. I could be wrong. I thought she said we used to have big Buddha, but we took it because people thought
Oh, okay. Maybe I'm just mixing it up. Because when we were in Hong Kong, Mukunda Trent and myself, devotees brought us to the really nice park. Very beautiful park. We walked around, and there's actually some Buddhist temples we went in. Quite huge forms of Buddha. I mean, they're just huge, like absolutely, like from this floor to the top of the ceiling. Big. So maybe I'm mixing up with that. But anyways, we went there. But there, I was just thinking it'd be a nice room for a big kirtan. And then they have living quarters for women, one section living quarters for men, and they have a bunch of guest facilities, places where guests could stay, and have big, nice grounds and everything. So when we went up there, there was a woman who works there, a lady who works there. Her name's Patricia, and all the Buddhist monks said they call her Pa-Krishna, because she likes Krishna. She comes to the farm sometimes and helps with the cows. But when we were there, one of our bhaktas, he was there, and there was like probably 20, 30 people. They're all walking silently, meditating. It was a silent, like, meditation, silent walk, walking. Strictly silent, like no talking, walking. And then one of our bhaktas, runs up and he goes, "Hey, how you guys doing? And you guys know where the bath?" And nobody responds to him. They'll just kind of like look at him and they'll like keep on walking, And then one of the leaders of that, and he's like, "What's up with these guys?" Kind of rude or something. But one of the leaders goes up to him, "Oh, sorry, man. We're doing the silent, walk, and that's why we didn't respond to you." But when we see people, when people see, who are used to meditation and different silent and sitting down, and what are these people doing? Chanting, So, when Radhanath Swami first came as a, traveling young man, he was there, and I think my Guru Maharaj engaged him, as you said, and also I think a few other devotees engaged him in different services, Guru Das, or so. And interesting enough, Prabhupada was on the stage, and so many people, and Prabhupada called him up, come sit by me, and he was sitting there, and so, it's nice. All right, does anybody have any other? We're so to these yogis. How do we feel about being sentimental to these yogis? Well, that's the thing. We want both. Like these mental speculators and all these types of yogis and all this. A lot of them, especially the traditional ones. They're stressing just your intelligence and your mind and all serious business, right? Knowledge, gyan, meditation, austerity. So the bhaktas, we want both. We want a head full of transcendental knowledge, Divyagan, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. There's so many philosophical points within these books, very deep philosophy. So we want a head full of transcendental knowledge, right, Divyagan. But then we also want a heart full of transcendental emotion, which is not a sentimental thing. It's what the personalists are into. But both. We want both, not just one. And as we've been discussing and hearing, the devotees are compared to like sharks, right, swimming in the ocean of the nectar of devotion, right? And they dive very deep into that ocean. And they're not, go back to the rivers, right? But as we were reading recently, then personalists are like fish. And in that sometimes the fish leave the ocean to go do what? You remember? Yeah, the fish leave to go spawn in the different streams. In other words, the example is given that the point being that the impersonalist, they by their austerity and their intelligence and their knowledge and all that, they may think they're riding very high in the the light of the Brahmajyoti, but in so many cases they have difficulties and they fall away. They fall back down into the material world. So that's the difficulty. But the bhaktas, the bliss coming from personalism through Krishna consciousness is far greater. So in other words, we have both. Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha. That by engaging in service to Krishna, one gets knowledge and detachment. Whereas that's what impersonalists are striving for as well, but they may get some knowledge and detachment, but because they're not relishing Krishna consciousness, the personalism, then they can't maintain it. That's a problem.
So I was trying to find, and I found the last sentence of the purport to the last verse in chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada says, well, to preface it, because on one hand, I also kind of felt like that kind of looked down on people who are kind of too soft, stuff like that. That's kind of like a lesser quality for those who can't they can't come to the higher thing of austerity and gravity and think that. So they're just kind of soft, or they're frivolous, or they're kind of, they're dancing and this and that. And but the point is that actually only like a soft-hearted person can actually become Krishna conscious, even though the knowledge can get one to maybe reject other things and maybe take up certain process, but ultimately they can't actually come to love Krishna, which is the whole purpose of all the jnana, unless they are soft-hearted and kind of they're soft. And then so Prabhupada says about Arjuna, how Arjuna, his whole problem in the first chapter is he's all soft, and Prabhupada actually criticizes him in the various purports that he's speaking like an idiot, basically he's being sentimental, this and that. And at the same time in this purport he's saying how at the same time he's sentimental, this and that, and that's why he's in he's in ignorance, because he's but then he says that that's then also his qualification for receiving transcendental knowledge from Krishna, for Krishna giving him knowledge. So he says, while observing the situation of his enemy, Arjuna stood up on the chariot, but he was so afflicted with lamentation that he sat down again, setting aside his bow and arrows. Such a kind and soft-hearted person in the devotional service of the Lord is fit to receive self-knowledge.
Yeah.
I think this is a different version, actually, of Bhagavad Gita, but it is Prabhupada, and it is the last.
Yeah, because in order to receive because soft-heartedness is a sign of piety, in the sense that you're just not like completely hard-hearted, and if you really like exaggerate that hard-heartedness, in very extreme cases, I mean, it really turns ugly. I mean, people do all types of horrible things, because they don't care for others. So the compassion's lacking. So many things are lacking. But soft-hearted sign of piety means it's a sign of a good heart that, okay, this person cares, this person's not just like cruel or something. But so one needs that piety or that sattvic qualities like that to actually obtain knowledge. But another point about hard-heartedness is that in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, or the Nectar Devotion, Prabhupada says that Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, our Prabhupada says that by engaging in these austerities, it can make the heart hard. Make the heart hard, It could, So, so therefore, we engage in the austerities, but we're careful to develop Krishna consciousness along with that. Because if one just engages in all, like waking up early and this and that, and so many different things that we may do in Krishna consciousness, if someone's not relishing Krishna consciousness, then maybe people it may affect the mind negatively, actually. So it's like brahmacharis or sannyasis or single persons. They have to sublimate their material desires through expressing their energy in different ways, through service, through different ways, creative ways of serving Krishna, or else that can negatively affect them and then others, because it kind of like that energy comes back and negatively affects them. In other words, it makes their heart hard, and they start like seeing everything and everyone, and just a lot of pent up energy and all that. So, all right, okay, Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai.